Okay, so you want to know what organic means. You're tired of hearing it everywhere. You're like, okay, but what is it really doing for me? Is it helping me? Is it not helping me? Is it really worth to spend all this money on organic eating and just switching my lifestyle to that? Is it really worth it? Let me tell you why it is. But before we get into that, my name's Daniella. If you're new here, I do videos on wellness and organic eating. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified every time I upload a video weekly. And let's get into it. And if you're new here, now you know that we start these sit-down talks with cafecito, with some coffee, and yes, it's organic. If you Google right now, organic, non-GMO, GMO, pesticides, herbicides, I mean, any of this stuff that we're about to talk about, it's all gonna be a lie. I mean, if you probably scroll all the way up until like the 5th page of your search, maybe you'll find some accurate information, but other than that, everything is regulated by the government. And so you have to understand that you're not going to get this information right away. You're going to get this information from people who care. They have the power of having the title EPA, FDA, whatever. They have the title and which holds power. And so that's why they can say, no, it doesn't cause cancer. No, it doesn't harm you. No, there's no evidence. There's no research, or there's no strong evidence to support ABC. Of course, they can do that. And so I urge you to think outside of the box. And really, honestly, once you do that, you'll realize it's all common sense. So organic basically means it's not altered by anything. It's its natural form. When we talk about not being organic, let's talk about our crops. So whenever they're being grown by farmers use pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, which all have Roundup in it. And Roundup has an ingredient, a chemical in it that's called glyphosate. And glyphosate has been a known carcinogen. Honestly, a bunch of countries have it banned and we don't. So organic means that these crops, that food has been grown and farmed without any pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. These chemicals are terrible for you. They actually do alter your DNA, your genes, your chemistry in your body. So when people say, oh, it's just in my genes, I'm going to have it, eventually it's just in my genetics. My dad had it, my mom had it, my grandma had it. That's maybe true. Yes, they did have it, so you may have it. They're passing it down to you. But it doesn't mean that it's irreversible. There are a couple of vegetables called cruciferous vegetables that can actually help reverse the poison in your body. And I'll leave all that in the description down below. But for the most part, starting an organic lifestyle really will help you reverse and just detox your body of all that if you do it consistently. So let's take a step back. So these crops are grown and protected by pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides, which have Roundup in it. And GMO is what makes it Roundup ready. So the GMO is what keeps the crop alive while the Roundup and all those pesticides kill the weeds around it. There's still going to be a lot of residue of these chemicals with these crops, even though they're GMO. And GMO really just means that it's genetically modified to withstand all these chemicals. And that's exactly what they're going to do to your body. So I always recommend buying organic, because 100% organic, if it's USDA labeled organic, it's going to be also non-GMO, which is what you want. But if it says non-GMO only and it doesn't say organic, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be 100% clean and free of any chemicals. So organic really is the thing that you want to look for, especially if it's certified by the USDA. There are vegetables and fruits that are on the Dirty Dozen list that you absolutely have to get organic. But there's a Clean 15 list that I'll leave both of these down below. And it's all the vegetables and fruits that you don't actually have to get organic because they're not GMO and they have the least amount of pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides in them. So that's like kind of a leeway and just a safe way to not spend that much money on those. So I'll leave it down below. So if our animals eat these crops that are not organic, that's also going to get into their system. And when we eat the animal, it's also going to get into ours. So when we talk about animals, we talk about grass-fed because if they eat grass, they're not eating grain. And grain is GMO. So whenever we're looking to have meat and beef, you got to get grass-fed. If you want to get chicken, you have to get pasture-raised because they have a lot of room to grow and just roam and be free. So they're not stressed, they're not developing all these other hormones, and they're not being pumped with antibiotics, which also makes them fatter, makes them meatier, and that's what, Americans love, that's what we love, but it's not good for us. We're finally having these conversations and we're realizing that everything that they've told us or haven't told us hasn't been to our advantage and it has not been benefiting us whatsoever. Is it more expensive? Of course it is. Should it be that way? Absolutely not. But until our focus is always going to be the junk, they're going to continue, all these government agencies, all of these huge systems and structures that really do regulate a lot of our stuff, they're going to keep feeding us it because we're not straying away from it. And so maybe I feel like if a lot of people start buying organic, the price will go down because now there's a business and now there's a market. Until then, though, it is going to be more expensive. If it's organic, that means that the farmers did not use any pesticides, herbicides, or anything like that. And usually that means that it was just a lot more work to maintain it. And that's the reason why it's so expensive. That's why you see farmers markets, because they are actually growing and they're selling right away, but they're doing it within the community. But think about the foods that have to be imported from states away. There has to be a production there that needs to be met. So of course, the cheap way is to use all these chemicals to maintain these foods and these crops so that they can get to the stores and the corporate stores faster. The one thing that's missing about our healthcare system is health, truly. You're not going to find this information with a doctor because this is not what they're taught in school. I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but this is not a conspiracy, okay? This is fact. This is fact. And the only difference is that now a huge amount of the population is actually interested in this life. So I'll leave some information down below. The Dirty Dozen list, the Clean 15, and I'll also list some of the things that you can do right now to reverse some of your issues and hopefully just do better for our next generation, for yourself, for your body, and for whoever's next. I'm going to be doing a series breaking down all the elements and parts to living an organic and healthier lifestyle, because this was just a general video actually explaining what organic and non-GMO, but more specifically what organic means. So I hope that it cleared things up for you and hopefully just gave you a little bit more of a purpose to keep going, because it's not just about what it is named and what you hear around. It's not about any prestige, about saying that I live an organic lifestyle. It's not about that. It really truly is about the benefit of our health. So stay tuned for a couple more videos in this series. I will make a playlist of them. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video.